Hello, scientists. Today I am doing the powder observation experiment. And here are some of the materials you will need if you do this experiment at home with me. You don't need the exact same materials, but here are the materials I used. So I'm going to use a teaspoon right here. You don't have to use this exact size. You could even use half a teaspoon for this if you want. Any size, as long as you have something to measure. I'm going to use water. This is water. I'm going to use vinegar. You could also use lemon juice or any other kind of vinegar. I'm going to use flour. I'm going to use salt and baking soda. Okay, once you get those materials, you're going to get 6 containers. The only reason I used glass is so that you guys could see my results if you're not doing the experiment with me at home. If you're doing this experiment at home, I actually suggest you use a recycled material like a yogurt container. I would be using yogurt containers that I've been saving if I didn't use glass. And you can see here all my glasses are a little different, so they don't even have to all be the same. And I made these little tents to label each of the 6 containers. On this side, I have my little paper tents for salt and vinegar, flour and vinegar, baking soda and vinegar. Over here, I have my tents for water, salt and water, flour and water, baking soda and water. I also made these tents because you can kind of stick them on the container to remind you which ones are where. So you can keep them in front or you can put them on the container. Okay, I'm going to start measuring. I'm going to just use 1 teaspoon of my solid powders, the salt, the baking soda, and the flour. And I'm going to get 1 teaspoon of each of the solid powders that correspond with the cup. So for this cup, I would do 1 teaspoon of baking soda. For this cup, I'll do 1 teaspoon flour, 1 teaspoon salt. Here I'm going to do 1 teaspoon baking soda, 1 teaspoon flour, and 1 teaspoon salt. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'll come back and I'll do the liquids next. Okay, we're back, and I've measured 1 teaspoon of all my powders into the correct container. Movie magic. Okay, we're gonna start with observing how water interacts with these powders. So I'm gonna get my water ready. I'm gonna get my teaspoon ready because I wanna do the same volume of liquid as I did solid. So I'm gonna take my teaspoon and I'm gonna measure out 1 teaspoon of water. Okay, 1 teaspoon of water, starting with salt and water. Just using spaghetti, uncooked spaghetti to stir. Okay, that's salt and water. Move that to the side. Now we're going to do flour and water. Sure you're observing closely. I'm going to get a zoom in picture in a second. This is much stickier. Spaghetti works really well to stir this. Okay, that's flour and water. Putting it to the side. So just finish up your observations of flour and water. Okay, now we're gonna go to baking soda and water. Okay, baking soda and water. Moving on to vinegar. Okay, let's start with salt and vinegar. I have my 1 teaspoon of vinegar. There's the salt and vinegar paste. Okay, moving on to flour and vinegar paste. This is kind of like a dough. Check it out. This is flour and vinegar. Okay, and lastly, we're gonna do baking soda and vinegar. Okay, this is baking soda and vinegar. As I mix this, it gets to be more like a paste. Ends up looking kind of like milk. Okay, that's baking soda and vinegar. Those are our pastes.